Good morning. This is Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church with your thought for the day. In our bulletin that we posted this week, we had a schedule of ways that we could worship God. And Thursday was the day we spend in prayer. It's interesting that this morning on Robert J. Morgan's post, where he is listing for us verses for the virus, he mentions 2 Chronicles chapter 20 and verse 9. This verse says, "If disaster comes upon us, sword, judgment, pestilence, or famine, we will stand before his temple and in your presence, for your name is in this temple, Lord. And we will cry out to you in our affliction, and you will hear and save." The Old Testament writer reminds us that sometimes we face great calamities on occasion, whether it be some violence through sword or wars, battles, maybe even a terrorist attack, which we have certainly experienced. Or whether we face some judgment from God when he punishes and chastises his people for acting against him or his word. Maybe it's some pestilence like the Egyptians faced in the 10 plagues. Or maybe even what the Samburu people are experiencing today in Kenya, where the locusts are taking away their crop. Anyway, he says, when we face these calamities, we know that we can call upon the Lord, and he will answer us. King Jehoshaphat in this passage in 2 Chronicles 20 was actually being invaded by several armies. And he calls upon the nation of Judah to fast, which, by the way, is another thought for the day. And he asks them to pray. So they come before the temple and they call upon God because we know what God will do. He says he will hear and he will save if we only seek his presence and we cry out. Well, let's claim God's promise today. Actually, in Mark chapter 11, Jesus says, "Have faith in God. Therefore, I say unto you, what things soever you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them." So today, let's spend some time in prayer. And by the way, here are a few requests you can add to your list. Becky Riggs, one of our missionaries in Chateaubriand, France, has been tested positive. She and her husband, Steve, are in quarantine during these days. We also have a missionary, Lori Torreson, who has been tested positive in Uruguay, and her family is quarantined. My cousin, Tim Lewis, pastor of the Bethel Baptist Church in Troy, Illinois, has also been tested positive and is in quarantine to recover. One of the student services directors at Welch College, Russell Houskey, has been tested positive, and he and his family are now in quarantine. But not only pray for those who have contracted this virus, pray for our healthcare workers. So many of them are working night and day to care for patients and most often putting themselves in harm's way. Pray for those today who have family members or loved ones that they've lost and they're bereaving this great loss. Or perhaps pray for the safety of those whose health is compromised in some way, their immunity is low. Pray for their safety. And pray for our country. I know there are national health officials who are seeking some drug or some vaccine that will help us to combat this. I pray that they'll be able to find things soon and put it on the market. Pray for businesses today and our economy, which has really taken a hit because of this calamity. And pray for our church families. I know many of them may be discouraged or just lonely during these times of shelter in place. So let's spend the day in prayer, crying out to God, for we know he has promised he will heal.